All right, kids, here we are. Here we go. It's 12:05 and a good afternoon. May I be the first to say it? It's episode 409 of the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is the same, Matt Murphy, and I appreciate you being with us. Whatever time you're able to give us, we thank you for that. We've got 3 full hours before we hand off to the drive with Brian Wilson on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Okay, so a lot going on today. Let me get the pleasantries out of the way. Headless Bells behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as humanly possible. And I appreciate Bell and everything that he does, making sure that everything that comes out of my speakers sounds as good as humanly possible. So do that, would you? I don't know. I'm just telling you. We've got breaking news as we come on air today. And we'll get into that in just a moment. It's Tuesday, August 29, 2023. You're invited to be a part of the show at any time. 615-737-9986. 615-737-WWTN. You can either utilize the super text line or you can give us a call. Always appreciate turning a monologue into a dialogue. The special session is over. It was adjourned moments ago as the House of Representatives and the Senate came to an agreement that the Senate wasn't going to move off their position, that they had passed everything that they were going to pass. And based on the fact that the House continued to devolve into nonsense, it was decided that it would be gavelled out of session. We will have a number of representatives on. As a matter of fact, moments ago on social media, I invited all of them. I mean, since you're not doing anything this afternoon, just swing on by. We'll have you all in here. We can maybe get a quorum and get something else done. Jody Barrett will be along at 12:35. We'll move away from the finalization or the completion of the special session at 1 o'clock today and talk with Tim Jones and Kurt Riley. They're with the Sumner County Constitutional Republicans. And I wanted to highlight, we had a great opportunity to sit down, break bread together in Hendersonville just the other night. Wanted to highlight this organization and its growth across the state of Alabama. This concept of constitutional Republicans, it's growing all across the state, and I'll let those two guys tell you about that coming up at 1 o'clock today. Pamela Furr, our own Pamela Furr, will be along at 2 o'clock to tell you about an event that I'm proud to be a part of. That is a little bit later on this week, Thursday afternoon to be precise. Until then, lots to fill in the gaps, lots of conversations to fill in the gaps, and lots of breaking news going on, not the least of which is the special session. I'm a little bit discombobulated, but I'll get into that during the break. So it was never going to, or the Senate was never going to move off of doing what they had done and finishing it up, right? The state Senate and the General Assembly took the bills presented by the governor, and while they might have disagreed that there was a need for an extraordinary session anyway, they made the decision to take the governor's bills, see what they could pass in this special session, and be done with the special session. The House of Representatives decided to take up many other bills, and some of them came to the floor of the House, and many of them are probably good pieces of legislation, but pieces of legislation that merit further consideration, and it would be a disservice to attempt to pass some of this legislation during a compressed special session along these lines. And for that reason, the House of Representatives and the Senate came to somewhat of an impasse, and that logjam was broken this morning. It's my understanding that it was a conversation between the Senate and the House. I believe the governor's office was involved with it as well. And ultimately, the decision was made that the session would end, the House and the Senate will gavel out. And so what did we see passed? Well, there are some key pieces of legislation that did pass, primarily the human trafficking piece, which is a good piece of legislation promoted and presented by the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition. It passed both bodies and will go to the governor, and no doubt it will receive the governor's signature. Outside of that, I'm waiting to see what was finalized in the waning moments of the special session. I'm actually pulling it up right now. I believe that there were a couple of other pieces of legislation that had previously been passed by the Senate that was ultimately passed by the House of Representatives before they gavelled out of session as well. There was a lot of drama last night, and sadly, The House of Representatives devolved into, I don't know that it devolved into chaos. The Democrats realized that they can create chaos in the body. And sadly, there is a lack of leadership. And I'm not necessarily blaming Cameron Sexton, although he's the leader. And so when there's a lack of leadership, you kind of have to point your fingers at the people that have been elected to lead. But it devolved again last night into shouting matches, and Cameron had to clear the gallery because the gallery wouldn't be quiet because Justin Jones acted out of order. And the Jones folks are claiming it was because they said that they were going to call for a vote of no confidence in the speaker's office, and that's why the speaker is, somehow pushing back against that. Justin Jones has realized how to push Cameron Sexton's buttons, and he's doing so. You should make Justin Jones a non-person by ignoring him in the body. Justin Jones presented no valid or valuable conversation during the special session. At every turn, he made it about himself. Every opportunity that he had, he accused other people of racism. I saw him blathering about the kids in the rotunda. I saw him blathering about safety of our children and gun violence outside of the Capitol building. I didn't hear a lot of that inside of the Capitol when I was there. I heard a lot of Justin Jones making it about himself, and sadly, it seems that leadership took the bait in that regard. Well, with that in mind, we are pleased to announce that the special session is over. I would note that none of the horrible, awful red flag laws that we were told would be passed by a complicit governor and a complicit legislative process, none of that happened either. And that is good news, to say the least. So you're invited to call in on it. Obviously, it's a discussion that we'll be having throughout the course of the day. I do take great interest in what's going on in our own backyard in Nashville, in the Tennessee Capitol, and especially with the money being spent there, a lot of which is being spent toward no good end. Climate activists have asserted themselves in a couple of different areas of the United States of America. That's a topic from discussion today as well. We've got 5,400 emails that we now know, according to the National Archives, are a part of the national record when it comes to Joe Biden's vice presidency and post-vice presidency. These are emails in which Joe Biden decided to use pseudonyms so as to escape scrutiny. We'll tell you all about that story. It's been brewing, and it broke out last night with the National Archives admitting that they had about 5,400 emails, records linked to Joe Biden's email aliases. Those aliases would be Robert Peters, Robin Ware, and J.R.B. Ware. They were used to share government information and discuss business with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and his associates. That, according to the Southeastern Legal Foundation, which filed a lawsuit to compel the agency to turn over the emails. And that is yet to be decided as to whether or not those will be turned over. I promise you they will try to shield those from public scrutiny. We'll have that story for you today. I have a youngster, a 12-year-old youngster in Colorado that has been booted out of class for wearing the Gadsden flag. We'll tell you that story as a symbol of what's going wrong in public education nowadays. So that's happening. And as we mentioned yesterday, Mayor Cooper, on his way out, John Cooper has signed a couple of pieces of legislation that have some impact as to what you can and cannot do in downtown Nashville, especially down on Lower Broadway. We'll tell you that story as well. Once again, Jody Barrett, Tim Jones, Kurt Riley, and Pamela Furr, guests today on our episode 409 of The Matt Murphy Show. You're invited to listen on 99.7 FM. You're invited to listen on any of our internet streaming platforms, or you're invited to watch on Supertalk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, up and running. F&M Bank chat line is up and running as well, and you're invited to be a part there. I do want to start with a breaking news analysis of what's going on with the special legislative session. As I mentioned at the open of the show, it's over. The special session really, it was much ado about not much. When the governor called the special session in April, the special session was designed to tackle the real and present danger that our kids were in a real and present dangerous situation with regard to gun violence specific to the Covenant School. Because we could not see the Covenant School manifesto, because some of that information was shielded from not just the general public, but also from lawmakers, it was impossible to make any determination as to whether something should be done specific to that incident. Therefore, it was next to impossible to address the specific nature of what the governor claimed to be the reason for the special session, and that was extraordinary circumstances surrounding loopholes or gaps in security protocols with regard to the Covenant School shooting. Well, you can't do a lot with that if you don't have all of the information in order to make a decision if you are a representative. And so they were left with just general public safety. Now, there were a few things that happened that were good. The human trafficking bill is good. Let's hope that we encourage more school systems like the Metro Nashville school system to employ SROs within their systems so as to better protect the children. I certainly hope so. I want to address real quick, and it's water under the bridge now, but I will address it nonetheless. This sign rule nonsense. I just want to make sure that you understand. The sign rule, I don't care about the sign rule. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, there was a special rule put in place in the House of Representatives during the special session that individuals would not be allowed to have signs with them, whether those signs be in the gallery or in conference. Typically, individuals coming to view the proceedings in the gallery have been permitted to carry 8 by 11 or, a sheet of paper sized sign with them, and they're allowed to place that sign over their chest so as to publicly display the sign but not to disturb anyone else around them. The Senate has this rule in place that allows for the signs, always has had it in place, and signs were allowed during the special session. Signs were allowed during the end of the regular session. Things got out of control, as you well know, and so it was decided in the House of Representatives in the Rules Committee that they would not permit signs in the gallery, nor would they permit signs in their conference committees. And this obviously got the dander up of the Democrats and other organizations. I think certain Covenant moms decided that they wanted to come in with signs saying for the children or whatever they might have said. First and foremost, the sign rule was silly, or the banning of signs was silly. If members of the gallery cause a disturbance, then those members of the gallery can be removed. At the same time, and this is where I draw the distinction, what maybe you shouldn't do from a public relations standpoint, that does not mean that you are not permitted to do it. And equally, if not more so silly, are these Democrats that are claiming that it is unconstitutional for Cameron Sexton and the Rules Committee to ban signs in the gallery of the Tennessee House of Representatives. I would remind you that the United States House of Representatives in Congress in Washington, D.C. does not permit signs. And to my knowledge, never have. And they're not in violation of the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, nor would the Tennessee House of Representatives. It has been consistently ruled by courts that they are going to allow the legislative branch of government to do their business in a manner of their own choosing. Secondarily, it has been determined over and over again that there are certain limitations regarding your ability to freely speak when you are in a setting such as the gallery area of the House of Representatives. In other words, you don't have full freedom of speech in the gallery in the Tennessee House. You've never had it. You can't just stand up and start giving a speech. And if you listen to Gloria Johnson or Justin Jones or Justin Pearson or any of the other Democrats, you would think this was the case, and of course it's not. It never has been. And any suggestion otherwise is pure nonsense. So what might be legal, and I think it's perfectly legal for Cameron Sexton to decide he doesn't want signs, probably isn't a good idea from a public relations standpoint. And conversely, what may or may not be a good idea from a public relations standpoint is not necessarily illegal when it comes to the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. Just wanted to set that down for you. All right, your calls, your thoughts, 615-737-9986. Just getting underway on the Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, the Matt Murphy Show in progress. Pleased you've joined us. Whatever time you're able to give us, we're appreciative of that. We've got 3 full hours today. We'll hand off to Brian Wilson at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Cameron Smith, the Speaker of the House, coming up with Brian at about 3:30 this afternoon. And Jody Barrett will be here moments from now. He's stepping into our studios before you know it. And I did say, I apologize. I've been a little discombobulated. I said across the state of Alabama for some reason, and I apologize for that. A lot of you are noting that on the super text line. I got a little technical issue going on in my studio that I'm trying to work out on my own. It's 1224, Super Talk 99.7 WTN, right here in the great state of Tennessee, the volunteer state, 615-737-9986. So tell Jody he's welcome to come on in if he wants. You're invited to do that. might as well begin that conversation. In the meantime, President Joe Biden lied again yesterday afternoon, lying about how he literally, not figuratively, talked Strom Thurmond into voting for the Civil Rights Act before he died. That according to U.S. Senator Strom Thurmond, by the way, voted against the bill, and Joe Biden was in college when that vote took place. Yet Joe Biden continues to lie, and people allow him to lie. In the meantime, we've got a hurricane that's coming up across the Gulf of Mexico and into the state of Florida. We'll cover some of that for you as well. And believe it or not, and I know it's difficult to believe, but we've been discussing this for some time. Lockdowns and mask mandates are coming back in parts of the country. Joe Biden wants you to take a new vaccine. He wants you to get a booster as well. And the suggestion is being made that you're going to see further mandates and potential lockdowns at a school system near you or in a community near you. And I don't think the United States is going to I don't think they're going to go for that. Certainly, we're not going to go for it in the Southeast and in the state of Tennessee. And so that is another story that we're watching for you. One of the reasons that I had Alabama on my mind is I had it on my list of things to talk about today. Alabama is ready to become the first state in the United States of America to use a nitrogen-based execution. And certain media outlets are claiming that Alabama wants to be the first in the nation to pull that off, that they, quote-unquote, want to be the first in the nation to pull that off. Alabama is merely trying to finish the job set forth by a jury of one's peers and a judge in good standing with that state with regard to an appropriate punishment for an individual that brutally murdered a pastor's wife in 1988. And so we'll get into that story as well. 1227, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In the meantime, apparently the special session is over. As it was adjourned today, our good friend, Representative Jody Barrett, has stopped by, and I figure we may as well begin this conversation as it is the breaking news story of the day. Jody joins us in studio to discuss what went down earlier today. Hey, Jody, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Just getting cranked up, and as we were getting cranked up around 12 o'clock, we found out that the special session was complete.
Wrapped up with a nice little bow on it.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, probably a whole lot of nothing's probably the easiest way to put that in a short, concise sentence. But we got out of there. The Senate held the line on their position that they were not going to take up any additional bills and let leadership, and I'm told the governor was involved in that discussion as well, that they weren't going to move on that. And so this morning we were informed that there wasn't a whole lot else that we could do unless we just wanted to continue to waste everybody's time. So we decided to go ahead and adjourn today.
Were you able to pass any legislation prior to adjournment?
Well, we had passed all of our bills.
You got the human trafficking done.
Correct. And we went through our calendar yesterday.
Okay.
There were, I think, 4 or 5 bills left on the calendar today that were all rolled yesterday by the sponsors, knowing that the Senate was not going to take them up. So there was a calendar today, but it wasn't intention. There was never any intention to take those up.
So of the 3 bills that the Senate did pass, the House did pass those bills, so those will go to the governor.
Correct. And the Senate adopted those bills without any amendments, so there was no conference committee between the two. Mm-hmm. No changes, no amendments.
Are you pleased with that? I mean, well, let me get your take, because I don't think you and I have talked about more broadly the special. Did you feel like it was a necessary special session?
Well, look, my opinion has been pretty consistent on this from the get-go. I wrote a letter to the governor back in June explaining that I did not think that the special session was necessary or wise under the circumstances. I told them that again face-to-face when we had a small group session at the mansion sometime in July, I think early July. And, again, I let my leadership know before the session ever started that my people in my district were adamant that they did not want this session to go on, and they did not want me to support it. And so they asked me to support adjournment. And so on the first day of session, when the motion was made to suspend the rules and take up Brian Ritchie's resolution to adjourn, I voted in favor of that motion to suspend the rules. So I've been pretty consistent all along that I didn't think there was anything good going to come out of this.
Our guest is Jody Barrett. We'll continue with talking to Jody about the special session in just a moment and get his thoughts on what, if anything, once the regular session comes back in January, we can do about some of the disruptions that are happening in the House of Representatives. We'll talk to him about that in a moment. It's 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. USS, United Structural Systems, is simply the best when it comes to your foundation of your home or waterproofing your home. Let's talk about that because I understand you don't want to deal with it. I like to say you don't want to call USS. The reason you don't want to call USS is because you've noticed that something's going on and you're worried, and I don't blame you. If you're worried about your foundation, it's hard to be comfortable within your home. Well, USS can give you that peace of mind. They'll come out. The way that they do things is simple. They come out, they diagnose the situation, they use their expertise that they've developed since 1994 in assessing what's going on in your home, whether it's a waterproofing issue, a foundation settlement issue, or perhaps it's a concrete leveling issue on your driveway or your walkways. They'll tell you what they need to do to correct that issue, and off they go correcting that issue for over 25,000 residential customers. They've done that in Tennessee, in Middle Tennessee, in Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama. You're invited to call USS if you see any of the warning signs, and they list them out clearly on their website, USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com. Give them a call today. They'd love to come out and offer you a bit of peace of mind. 615-488-7855. They guarantee their best. Call USS. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Our good friend Representative Jody Barrett in studio with us in the aftermath of what was the special session. It has now been gavelled out. 3 pieces of legislation moved to the governor. The expectation is that he will sign that legislation. I'm going to break some of that down for you coming up in the next few moments. Jody, there was at the end of the regular session, I want to reset. There was a little bit of chaos with regard to rules and decorum of the session. A lot of emotion in the aftermath of the Covenant school shooting, and rightly so. I mean, a lot of us in Tennessee rightly were very emotional about what happened at Covenant. It was the hope of all of us observing the special session that we would kind of get the House in order this time around. I think that leadership tried to do that with some new rules set forth by the Rules Committee. Just speak to some of the new rules and your support or your appreciation of the decorum of the House of Representatives and how to better represent the people of the state of Tennessee moving forward.
Sure. Well, I think the rules that we adopted for the special session were directly in response to what happened in the last regular session. And even the Democrats wanted some additional options with regards to punishment or correcting certain actions by the members. And the only way that we could do that is to try to adopt these new rules, add some different layers in between just a censure and then going all the way from censure all the way up to expulsion. So that's what these rules have done. They've allowed the body to be able to vote in anytime somebody goes out of order multiple times in a day in order to support whether or not they should be shut down for the rest of that day. And as rather than us just going straight to, well, they violated the rules and therefore the only option we have is to file a motion to expel.
Right. So you created some additional options, and one would think that the Democrats would be happy with that because they complained that these two, Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, were expelled when what they did not rise to the level of expulsion. And as you just described in the regular session, there were really those two options. You were on our show in the aftermath of that because you chose to vote in favor of expulsion for Jones and Pearson, but not for Johnson. And you explained yourself clearly there. I mean, I fussed at you about it, but you said, look, you felt like the two did what rose to the level of expulsion, but she didn't. And that was your position on it. Were you happy to see additional options for the body?
Sure. I think it's important. It's not only important, it's vital. We can't conduct business unless we have rules in place for decorum for us to be able to carry on business. We saw what happened yesterday afternoon whenever we enforced the rules and chaos ensued in the balcony, and we were trying to go on with our calendar with yelling and screaming. And Representative Gant stood up and told the speaker, I can't hear what we're even talking about. I don't even know what I'm voting on because of what's going on. That's what we would descend into if we did not have these rules in place in order to keep things moving along at a rational pace. So
do you believe that, I guess the crux of the matter is the determination as to when somebody's out of order. And I understand, I think, what the Democrats are trying to play here, but I'm trying to look at it from the speaker's perspective. And you're there. You're in the midst of it in the House, so you see all of this. What options does the speaker have once the rules are set forth, once they're set out by the Rules Committee, once they're voted on by the entire body? I guess, is it not in his discretion as to what is on the topic and what is off the topic and when to call someone out of order?
Very similar to a judge controlling a courtroom and determining whether or not somebody's out of order or withholding an objection or not. That's what Cameron does as Speaker of the House, is he rules the House and controls order. And so, look, they're trying to put in between a rock and a hard place. We adopted rules to give you options, and now they don't like those rules. And so and it's a typical Marxist thing, right? Tell me what the rule is, let me break it, and then figure out, how to get around breaking it, and then push you to change the rule again. So I'll break that one the next time.
And that's right. And if you react, and it's exactly what Jones is doing, certainly
Correct.
Not Pearson, is that You tell me what the rule is. I'll figure out a way to really subtly break it, not go way beyond the rule, but just barely over the rule.
Right.
You have to make a determination, and as soon as you make a determination, I make a federal case out of it, and I gin up the gallery and create chaos like we saw last night. I don't want to play hindsight, and I don't pretend that I would react any better necessarily if I were Speaker of the House. But would it not? I mean, he has a limited amount of time to speak, right?
Sure.
Would it not be better to just let him finish, sit him down, and move on? I mean, is there a better way to handle what Justin Jones is trying to do, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, look, hindsight's always 20/20, right? I think you can look back and point to different exchanges between any of us and say, well, I probably could have done that better, or maybe I shouldn't have responded in that way. Look, I just think we all have we're all subject to the same rules. We all have the same 5 minutes to speak whenever we're recognized. And the rules apply to all of us. If I got up and started impugning the character of Mr. Jones or anybody else, the speaker's going to call me out of order as well, and rightfully so. And if I do it more than once, then the body's going to have to vote as to whether or not I've been out of order twice in one day and apply the rules. So the frustration that the Democrats have, and I understand, there's only 24 of them in a body of 99. They don't have the votes to do anything. So coming into this session, the only thing that they could possibly accomplish was create chaos and try to cause some sort of division between the Republican Party, the members of the Republican Party. So part of the reason why I was in favor of adjournment is because that's what I saw as the only thing that they could do.
Well, certainly with the Senate where they were.
Correct.
And the Senate, to their credit, they've not wavered on where they are. They saw the bills the governor presented. The governor's the one that called the special session. They asked the governor, okay, where are your bills? I think the governor presented 6 bills and 1 appropriation. They cut one of the bills, so they really considered 5 bills and 1 appropriation. They passed the 3 bills, passed the appropriation, and they felt like they were done. The House felt differently, which is their right.
Right.
Leadership within the House felt like they could take the opportunity to take up future bills. But I do think that, and you just said it, that after assessment and after sitting down and meeting with all interested parties and recognizing the Senate was where they were and they really weren't coming off that position, then the only thing we can do by continuing the special session is to cast a spotlight on those that are trying to cause trouble.
Right. And look, I think this goes all the way back to the initial call. Like the decision to even call the special session is where all of this kind of got off the rails. And I just don't think it was very well thought through. And again, all due respect to the governor, I appreciate where he was coming from. He met with us to let us know where his heart was on this and why he was calling the session to begin with. But all of the evidence was before us to kind of see what was coming down the tracks. And so the House, maybe some people, members of the House, want to look to the Senate. The Senate, I think, was being defensive about some of the stuff that was being put out against them. I get that. But at the end of the day, really this goes back to the governor and the call to begin with, and just the whole thing maybe not being very well organized and maybe a void of leadership at the top.
How can we, Jody, you've been in plenty of courtrooms.
Yes, sir.
You understand rules of decorum. A courtroom is almost an easier place to keep decorum because the judge has ultimate authority to call people out of order and to censure them through contempt of court charges or whatnot. Looking forward to the regular session, there are some good There's some good pieces of legislation that I think were brought up during the special.
Absolutely.
The fire alarm bill is a solid piece of legislation that needs to be fleshed out a little bit. I'm willing to talk about the autopsy bill. I know that was a centerpiece of what Majority Leader Lamberth wanted to accomplish. Those are things moving forward that we'll need to speak to. What do you think, if anything, can be done to kind of squash some of the rabble-rousing that's going on the floor of the body?
Well, look, I think we're just going to have to hold the line. It's just like I have raised 3 children, and it's like anything else. If you tell them what the consequences are and then you don't enforce the consequences, then they're just going to keep pushing the envelope. And so I think the speaker's doing what he can to hold the line of, look, here's the rules, I'm going to enforce them. And if you force me to make a ruling, then I'm going to have to do what the rules tell me to do. If he just continues to look the other way and allow them to act that way, as you say, ignored them, then I don't know that that's going to accomplish anything either. So, and I'll say this, going into the regular session, you're right. There are a lot of good bills that were presented, bills that I voted in favor of. Even though I voted in favor of adjourning, I still voted in favor of several bills that came up because they are good bills with good ideas. The problem with the special session, and this is where the Senate was all week long, is these bills need to have more debate. They need to go through a full legislative process where the public can come in, testify at committee meetings. We can have amendments discussed and going back and forth. Those are things that just don't happen in a session that happens in 3 or 4 days and things get rushed through.
Were you on the floor of the House at the time that they called to adjourn?
Today?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Did you witness the altercation that happened at the bottom of the speaker dais?
There was something that happened. I did not see it firsthand. I've seen some video of it afterwards. There was some sort of physical contact that took place between, I believe, Representative Pearson and the speaker. It looked like there was a melee going on there. So I'm not sure how that. And look, earlier in the session, before we adjourned, Representative Pearson came through the aisle and bumped into another member that was standing there and made some comment about, man, you need to get out of my way. And so he was being very aggressive on the entire floor session this morning.
Well, right. I mean, as it's being described by the Tennessean, and I trust the Tennessean as far as I can throw them, as the crowd formed at the bottom of the speaker dais, it appeared Sexton made physical contact with Pearson while pushing past him. Majority Leader Lamberth and Pearson had a heated exchange before Republicans exited the chamber. So, you know, obviously that type of behavior it has no place.
Well, keep in mind, this is a guy that's been walking around with 2 armed security guards following him everywhere he goes 24/7.
That's Pearson?
Pearson, yes.
Why does he feel the need for armed security?
Have no idea.
Does he feel like there aren't enough state troopers in the state house?
Well, I think it's ironic that a guy that is railing on gun control and wants to get rid of everybody's rights to have a gun has 2 armed guards following him around everywhere he goes. It's okay for him to have armed security, but not okay for our schools to have armed security when he voted against every bill that we've tried to pass to put SROs and armed security in school buildings, but yet he's having guys following him around.
Are we giving too much attention to the minority party?
100%. Look, this is the.
I mean, we allowing the kids to take over.
Well, we are, and what we're doing is we're forgetting that they are in the minority for a reason. The reason that we have a supermajority is because there are 95 counties in this state. There are 99 districts across the state that we all represent. Davidson County is not the state of Tennessee. And just because we have a group of folks in Davidson County that are upset about a certain issue, a tragedy that happened, that doesn't mean that the people in my district or Carroll County or Greene County or, pick a county across the state that they don't feel the same way. They don't have the same opinion. And this thing about 89% of Tennesseans are in favor of gun control.
It's nonsense.
It's complete nonsense. They've not gone out into the rural areas to talk to the same people that I'm talking to. And I'll just tell you, the quickest way for me to not be asked to return up here by the voters of my district is to vote in favor of anything on gun control.
I want to slip on those headphones there because I want to, and your volume is right there underneath you because I want you to listen to one of your favorite friends, one of our favorite friends, and just get your reaction to something Representative Gloria Johnson posted last evening about authoritarianism.
Hi, friends. I'm sure several of you have already heard Democrats walked off the House floor tonight as our undemocratic speaker once again shut down our youngest black member, Representative Justin Jones, called him out of order twice, and took a vote to silence him for the rest of the day.
All right, so let's stop there. That's per the rules, right?
That is per the rules. And one key fact that she left out, if you watch that video of the floor session, very early on in the session, the speaker stopped Representative Jones and said, Representative Jones, you're getting very close to being out of order. I don't want to have to rule you out of order here, and gave him a warning. So it's actually the third time that he was called out of order.
All right, here's Gloria supporting.
However, another member, a Republican, was also called out of order twice tonight. No vote was taken to silence that member for the rest of the night. That didn't happen. But what you don't know, perhaps, is that Justin Jones had notified every member he was going to call for a vote of no confidence on the speaker. And guess what? The speaker took away his voice for the rest of the night on the House floor.
And that's per the rules, right? They all understand the rules.
That is per the rules. And look, like a lot of stuff that comes out of her mouth, it's partially true. Representative Bolso is who she's referring to, who is presenting a bill and having a discussion back and forth with one of the representatives about a bill. And in responding to questions or comments that were made by that representative, Representative Bolso started making a general statement that was maybe straying off the bill. And he, just like I just mentioned, was warned by the speaker. Representative Bolso, let's get back on topic here. Stay on. He wasn't ruled out of order. He was just gently chided to say, hey, let's stay on the bill here. And then he was ruled out of order one time after that. So he wasn't ruled out of order twice per the rules. That's why there wasn't a vote to determine whether or not he had violated the rules or not. So again, they're twisting facts in order to try to fit into
But it's all
narrative.
they've got. And I go back and forth. I think it's important to point it out in discussions with individuals that are there every moment that the body's in session. So you witness all of this with your own eyes and you hear it with your own ears. It's important to point out how ridiculous they're being. At the same time, I hesitate to discuss it too much because of the attention that they get, that they so desire. They can't win elections around the state. None of this would be happening if they won elections and won a majority and had their own speaker.
Which is the democracy that they say is dying.
Right.
When you say democracy is dying and authoritarianism rules in Tennessee, well, look, guys, just go win elections. Put people – they like to say, well, looking back to the last presidential election, well, who you nominate matters and you need to nominate better people. Well, I would say the same thing. Get better candidates, go win races, and then maybe you won't be in a situation where you can't control what rules are adopted and what rules aren't.
Final thought on the sign rule. Do you think the sign rule, in retrospect, I understand hindsight's 20/20, but was the sign rule a mistake?
Look, I could argue both sides of that. I mean, I think it's necessary for us, if we're going to put a rule in place, it has to apply to everybody. I think it would be a mistake for us to adopt rules that apply only to the members on the floor and not to the members, the guests in the gallery. So, hindsight being 20/20, maybe we were a little heavy-handed in how we enforced it. But at the end of the day, again, the rules were adopted by the body.
What do you think would happen if somebody showed up with a sign supporting the Klan?
The other side would lose their minds.
Right? But equitable application of the sign rule would indicate that would be permissible, right?
Sure. Look, let's be very clear. The reason that they want the signs is because the people that are in the gallery
are in support of them.
In support of
right.
what they're trying to do, or they're in support of what they're trying to do.
Well, and once again, I didn't have that much trouble with it, but any suggestion that it is not complete, I mean, you're a lawyer. Right. It's completely within the legislative body's ability to ban signs.
100%. And look, they're using the legal system to their advantage because they know a temporary restraining order in front of a friendly judge here in Davidson County is going to be upheld, and that there's not going to be enough time because the special session is going to get adjourned before it ever gets appealed. So I think
y'all need to take this to its conclusion, though. So you can establish in the regular session what is and is not permissible.
I fully expect that the Attorney General's office is going to continue to follow this through so we have a ruling, because we need to know going forward what we can and can't do.
Jody, I got to call it there. Thank you for stopping by in the aftermath of the session. I appreciate you giving us your eyewitness account as representative. Yeah, go ahead.
The only thing I do want to add is, pay attention to the appropriation bill that was adopted because the Senate adopted our appropriation bill.
Okay.
So our appropriation bill included a lot of funding that was not in what the Senate originally was proposing. Two things that are really important there.
We gotta hold it. If you gotta get it, I gotta hold it because I gotta go. I'll let you finish up on the other side. It's 12:54 on Super Talk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and right now I've lost 31 pounds. Thank you to PhD Weight Loss. That is 31 pounds in just over 8 weeks' time. It's the best endorsement I can give for PhD Weight Loss and the efficacy of their program. They're good at what they do. Thank you to Dr. Ashley Lucas. Thank you to my consultant, Rachel. I speak with Rachel on a weekly basis. Absolutely love her. Most men, you'll lose between 3 and 5 pounds per week, and I'm right there on average. I'm right at about 4.1 pounds per week. Women, you'll lose 2 to 3 pounds a week. And don't forget the guarantee. PhD Weight Loss says that if you don't get within 5 pounds of your target, and you'll set all of this up at the beginning of the program. When you meet with your consultant, you sit down, you'll talk to them about your goals, where you want to be. They'll do some calculations on your own. You'll consult, and you'll figure out what your weight loss plan is and where they can get you within that plan. And if you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight, they'll continue to coach you for free until you do. You can't ask for more than that. Do this today. Visit myphdweightloss.com. That's myphdweightloss.com, and do what I've done and lose the weight that you've been trying to get off for some time. With structure and with a program like PhD Weight Loss, I know that you can get it done. It's PhD Weight Loss. All right. Here we are. Here we go. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and you. Let me give myself a little volume here. Right now, the leadership in the House of Representatives, they are conducting a press conference in the aftermath of the special session called by the governor, Bill Lee, earlier this month. Representative William Lamberth is speaking right now. I want to join this in progress. We got a couple of guests in studio, and I appreciate those guys being here. But before we get to them, I want to join this in progress because we were monitoring this. This is William Lamberth, Jeremy Faison, and Cameron Sexton, all in leadership for the Republicans in the House of Representatives. Let's listen in. All right, I think that is an appropriate post-mortem. I will continue to allow McMorey and Bell Kay to monitor Cameron Sexton, William Lamberth, and Jeremy Faison. That would be the Speaker of the House Majority Leader, and the House Caucus Chair, respectively. I'll allow you guys to continue to monitor those proceedings and let us know if anything particular comes out of it. It is a post-mortem of the special session that was especially focused on some of the chaos that ensued late into the session. Obviously, these are Democrats in the minority that are stoking the fires of chaos with the hopes that it will present itself to the mainstream media, to the television networks in Nashville, to the national news media as utter chaos in the state of Tennessee. There's a lot less chaos than they would have you believe. The rules were put into place to try to prevent some of the things that happened during the regular session, and the Democrats took advantage of those rules to try to seed chaos yet again, instead of what they claimed to want to do, which was to solve some of the issues as they saw them with regard to public safety and children's safety within our schools. The Democrats claim they want to be a part of the solution, yet any conversation having to do with anything other than the confiscation of law-abiding citizens' guns, they don't want to talk about. So what are they doing down there except disrupting the lawful proceedings of the House of Representatives? And this nonsense from Gloria Johnson and Justin Jones and Justin Pearson about the end of democracy and authoritarianism. Win a frickin' election, okay? Start winning some elections, you Democrats, and then you can take over the body, and you can have no rules if you want them. You can have everybody doing anything they want in the gallery. You can have anybody that wants to talk in the gallery to get to talk in the gallery. Anybody that wants to scream in the gallery gets to scream in the gallery. Anybody that wants to spit down on the House of Representatives itself can spit down on the House of Representatives itself. I, for one, have had a belly full of these stupid Democrats that claim that there ought not be no rules of decorum in the House of Representatives. You got to be kidding me. Now, I'm not one to defend Cameron Sexton because, sadly, I think Cameron Sexton allowed himself to be played by these same Democrats. I appreciate the fact that he tried to insert certain rules that would prevent a loss of decorum in the House body. I think the sign rule backfired on him, and it sadly got some in the gallery against him when they ought not be against him with regard to how they comport themselves inside of the House of Representatives. That's my thought on all of this. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll take a short time out. And two gentlemen that have been very patient, Tim Jones and Kurt Riley, I had an opportunity to speak to both of these guys during our visit up in Hendersonville at the J Street Korean Grill and Bar. And I think some of what they're doing up in Sumner County is very intriguing to me, and a lot of people are starting to take notice. This is the Sumner County Constitutional Republicans. And we will talk to these two guys about that in just a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, for the last several months, I've been telling you that if you are sweaty, call Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling. You've heard me say that quite a bit, Belkay, right? If you're sweaty, call Jeff Eddy. Well, the other day, someone asked me, well, what's going to happen when it's no longer summertime and you're getting ready for fall? And I thought of something. If your heater's not ready, call Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling and get your heater ready. That's good, right?
You are the most creative person that I know.
Well, I'm the most creative person you're talking to. So Efficient Heating and Cooling is here for you. And before you know it, in all seriousness, folks, I know that it's the end of August, and I know we got more hot days coming in September. But before you know it, as you well know, the seasons will get cooler, and you'll want to pop on that AC, that heater. Don't do that heater without getting it cleaned and making sure that it's running as efficiently as possible with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Give them a call today and schedule an appointment. And if that AC is running poorly or if it's gone out completely, you need quick work on that, and you can get it with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. EfficientHVAC.net is the website, EfficientHVAC.net. Or call 615-784-4424. 784-4424. Jeff Eddy's Efficient Heating and Cooling offers free financing on your next unit when it comes time. And they're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and an elite pro partner with Rheem. Efficient Heating and Cooling. Jeff Eddy, never any overtime. Remember that. Give him a call today. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, the Matt Murphy Show is in progress. We just finished up a press conference in the aftermath of the special session of the General Assembly of the state of Tennessee. That would be William Lamberth, the House Majority Leader, the Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton, as well as Jeremy Faison, the House Caucus Chair, wrapping up what was, I guess, a fruitful special session in as much as you had some legislation passed and some appropriation passed. We'll get back onto that coming up in just a couple of minutes. I had a great opportunity to meet our next two guests up in Hendersonville. Actually, I met one of our two guests at the library in Sumner County as we welcomed Kirk Cameron and Riley Gaines into town to have a reading at the library, a See You at the Library event, which went off very, very well. Tim Jones met me there, and I had a great chance to visit with him, and he introduced me to Kurt Riley, and both of these gentlemen are a part of the Sumner County Constitutional Republicans, and as I learned more about them, I thought, man, this would be a very interesting conversation to have on the radio. And toward that end, we welcome both of these guys in studio. Kurt, Tim, thank you for being on with us. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Afternoon, thank you.
Are you going to belly up to that microphone? There you go.
Thanks for having us.
That's what I'm talking about.
Snuggle it.
So tell me a little about. I mean, we've got a Sumner County commissioner. We got two Sumner County commissioners here.
Nope, he's not a commissioner.
Oh no, you're not a commissioner. Wait, who was the other one? Briley's the other one, right? What?
Jeremy Mansfield, Matt Shove. You met both of those guys.
I'm getting so confused.
You met so many the other night.
You met Barry Briley also.
That's who I'm thinking of.
He's a friend of the
friend
SCCR.
of
He's a member of the SCCR. He's the president.
So just tell me about the genesis of the organization, how all of this started.
Yeah, 5 years ago, a group of us got together and decided that, we wanted to form an organization that focused on recruiting candidates, candidates that were God-fearing, ethical, honest, things that don't normally go together with politicians. But we wanted to recruit candidates that we thought were of better quality and get them to run for office and be able to help them on that journey so that we could change out our seats of our elected officials in Sumner County. That's how we started.
And that was, how many years ago you said? 5?
5 years ago this month we started.
How did that go over with the elected officials in Sumner County?
Well, I mean, if you aspire to what we believe in, it went well. But if you didn't, you got to remember at first when we first started, they saw us as the tiny group and we were just ankle biters and there was no fear of who we are and what we wanted to do because there was just 8 of us. Well, 8 turned into 20, turned into 60, turned into over, hundreds now. And now we have a caucus, right, where, a lot of people like Tim Jones, that's here with us today, show up and want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And he stepped into the ring. And, of course, now he's an elected official. So we've had some great success, and they may not like it, but that's what we're doing.
Tim, how has this been odd for you? I mean, you're what the Founding Fathers intended, right? You're a citizen legislator at this point. I mean, a county commissioner by name, but that's what you're doing.
It's very odd. I never in my life imagined I'd be in public office. I did not start getting involved till about 3 years ago, and they needed somebody to step up in my district, and nobody else would run against the establishment candidate, so I did.
Sumner County is not known for being a liberal enclave. What did you witness, Kurt, in your own community that you felt like was troublesome?
Yeah, what I saw was that when I would go to meetings and I would talk to my elected officials and I'd write those emails and pound the podium and stay after meetings and talk with my elected officials, I just really felt that they didn't care. They weren't listening to the people. So for me, it was more of a people movement, and I met other people there that showed up and said, I don't have streetlights in my neighborhood and I can't find out why because I'm told to go pound sand. And these people, like me, became kind of citizen activists. And then we started to, it might be one issue for an individual that gets them there, but as they start to interact with their legislature, their folks, their local folks, and the body, they start to realize, I don't think these people are working for me. And I think that was what really helped us, decide that we needed to do something different.
And what is the mission statement behind the constitutional Republican movement? I mean, if you had to encapsulate it in one sentence, or
it's about real, true, conservative, right-leaning, God-fearing constitutional men and women that love this country, that believe in the Republican Party principles to the core, right? It's really about, being who you are. Say what you mean and mean what you say. And if you're a Republican and you really believe in these values and the principles of the Constitution, then show it and live it.
One of the ways that Tim and I got to know one another was that he answered a call to a question that I had some months ago, because it's funny when people call me a rhino, I get amused because I've never claimed to be a Republican, right? So it's hard to be a Republican in name only if you don't claim to be a Republican. But there are a lot of people that do claim the R behind their name, that oftentimes when they get into the arena, whether it be in Washington, D.C. or in Nashville, Tennessee, or maybe even in Sumner County, they don't act very much like it. And so Tim kind of answered the challenge. I'm like, what is a rhino? What are we talking about when we're talking about a rhino? I want you to kind of answer that too, Kurt. Tell me, when we talk about a rhino, for me, it's kind of lost on me. Help me understand it.
Yeah, I think when you hear the word rhino, it's going to, you're going to have a little bit of a different definition depending on who's using the word. But the reality, what that word means to most people is they see somebody that is either what they believe to be a Democrat that's actually running as a Republican, or you're seeing a very moderate or weak Republican, right? If we think about us, I would say we're bright red. The color red has many shades, right? So does the Republican Party. So we would think of ourselves as, probably that bright red. Well, when you start looking at some other people in the party, maybe you get to a purple, Tim, or, some would say pink, purple, you get a lighter shade. People see that and they say, I don't think they're really a Republican. I think they were more of a Democrat, but they're over here on the Republican side because the Democrat Party has moved so far left, it's created a kind of a weird gap. People aren't sure where they fit in. They might have been an old school, blue dog Democrat, and now they've kind of just the goalposts.
And they don't want to be associated with those crazies.
Right, yeah. Right? I mean, you've got letters on your wall in here from crazies. And who wants to be associated with that?
Well, I mean, and I understand if you're a Democrat in Alabama or Tennessee or Georgia or, particularly in the Southeast, why you wouldn't want to be associated with AOC or Nancy Pelosi or some of the loonier Democrats in Washington, D.C. Let's take it up from there right after the bottom of the hour break. Kurt Riley and Tim Jones, our guest from Sumner County and the Sumner County Constitutional Republicans. I notice that you're wearing a shirt that says Tennessee Constitutional Republicans, and I'll ask you about that in just a moment. It's 1:31, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief is located in Franklin, Tennessee, and they want to see you. As a matter of fact, especially if you have knee pain. I have knee pain, and I have been treated at the Dr. Gill Center. Now, Dr. V told me that I did not have structural issues. I did not have anything from a bone standpoint. I had a muscle strain, but still, I got laser therapy. I got ultrasound therapy on my leg. I've done that twice now, and I can't tell you how much it has relieved a lot of the pain that existed in my knee. Thank you to the Dr. Gill Center. But now they're looking for 5 individuals just like you. If you suffer from knee pain, if it's painful to walk or perform day-to-day activities, you need to get with the Dr. Gill Center. They're looking for 5 individuals who are suffering from knee pain who want to experience significant relief in the next 30 days without pills, without surgery. That's not what it's about. It's about living without knee pain. What's knee pain costing you? Don't miss this opportunity. Call the Dr. Gill Center now to be one of the first 5 to get back to a pain-free lifestyle. Call 615-882-4838, 882-4838. That's 615-882-4838, the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is a location for men to go specifically toward your health needs to find out if something's going on inside of your body that you need to know about. Gentlemen, we don't check our numbers. We just don't. I mean, I know I didn't. My grandpa's, I just rub some dirt on it and move on, right? But there are some numbers that you need to know about, especially when you get to a certain age. And there are conversations that you need to have with your doctor that I'm not comfortable having with you regarding your bedroom and things that are going on there. But know this, it happens to a lot of men, and it doesn't have to happen to you. And when you talk about your T numbers, it can affect energy levels in a lot of different ways. It can affect your willingness to do yard work, your willingness to go to the gym, your willingness to do a lot of different physical activities. And if that's the case, Tennessee Men's Clinic can help. So it's a simple telephone conversation and an appointment setting that could get you these numbers that can give you a guidepost where you need to go next. TennesseeMen'sClinic.com is the website, TennesseeMen'sClinic.com, or 615-208-9090. 2 locations to serve you, one in Midtown, the other's in Franklin and Cool Springs. 208-9090 for Tennessee Men's Clinic. Pamela Furr will be along coming up just after 2 o'clock this afternoon. Can't wait for that conversation. We will be a part of an Americans for Prosperity event happening this Thursday night, and it's just a cavalcade of stars that will be at the event, and Pamela will tell you all about that. That is upcoming in the 2 o'clock hour this afternoon. We're also monitoring the late-breaking news that the special session of the Tennessee General Assembly, if you're just joining us, the special session is over as the Senate felt like they had completed their duties. The Senate, the governor, and the House met this morning, leadership obviously, and the House came to the realization that the Senate was not going to move on any further legislation. They were not going to reopen committees. They were not going to go to conference committee, and so they were spinning their wheels and just wasting money. And so they have adjourned the special session. We're awaiting to hear comments from the governor. I have a call out to the governor's office. If the governor decides that he wants to speak to this matter and wants to do so on our format, he is invited to do so, and we'll carry that for you if it should happen. In the meantime, I will alert you that this afternoon, we had Representative Jody Barrett on earlier. We heard from Cameron Sexton, William Lamberth, and Jeremy Faison during their press conference moments ago. Cameron Sexton will speak directly to Brian Wilson this afternoon on The Drive, and it's also my understanding that Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson will be on with Brian. That is at 3:30 and 5:05. 3:35 and 5:05, respectively, on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, carrying and covering this special session comprehensively for you on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In the meantime, we've got Tim Jones and Kurt Riley from up in Sumner County, a county that may have a new resident sooner rather than later. I love Gallatin, guys. Is there any better place in Tennessee than Gallatin, Tennessee?
Hendersonville.
Tim's from Hendersonville.
Gallatin won't stop building. You're going to run out of space.
Gallatin is it's a nice little older downtown, right?
I live in Gallatin. I love Gallatin.
Nice. Hendersonville is awesome, too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not besmirching the good name of Hendersonville, but Sumner County generally has got some good areas up there. The Goodlettsville, the Sumner County portion of Goodlettsville is much better than the Davidson County portion of Goodlettsville, I'd like to say.
Of course, for sure.
We were talking about rhinos a minute ago. And I loved how you characterized what I think, and appropriately so, what I think is going on. The Democrats have lurched so far left to the extreme wing of their political party. It's kind of leaving this void. Yeah. And I think some individuals who maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, I've said for years that the Republicans are the old Republicans are the new Democrats, and the old Democrats are the new socialists, and there aren't very many conservatives left anymore. Right. And I think that's kind of where you're going. But is there a place for disagreement? How do you keep that spirit, if you even want to, Kurt, of the Reagan big tent, but at the same time recognize when someone's kind of veering off the reservation and really doesn't represent the party anymore?
Yeah, we're not going to always agree, right? I always talk about grace as individuals when we have difference of opinion. It's going to happen. Nobody is 100% perfect. You're just going to have times where votes are made where maybe you didn't have information when you made the vote and you probably would have changed that vote later. Or you have friends and family that just don't quite align with what you see, right? So, or how you see it, I should say. But some of the things I look for is more along the lines of like values and principles. If we think about, so somebody in Sumner County, one of the biggest rhinos, as somebody would say in Sumner County, would be former state rep Deborah Maggart. What makes her a rhino? Why would somebody say that? Well, if you look at Zach Young, former Councilman Zach Young, Democrat, Goodlettsville, there's a campaign donation this year from Deborah Maggart. Why would Deborah Maggart, former state rep, Republican, donate money to a Democrat candidate? Well, that signals to us that, wait a second, I thought she was a Republican. Why would you donate money to Democrats? We had another Sumner County Commissioner, Luke Tinsley.
I don't, and I'm not, I'm just genuine curiosity. I'm not arguing the point, but is Zach Young identified as a Democrat? Does he? Or does he claim to be?
Yes, he's absolutely.
But he runs in the Metro Council.
Well, maybe a nonpartisan race, but he absolutely is a Democrat.
Okay, sure. I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Yeah, we got former commissioners like Luke Tinsley, who's up there helping a known Democrat run for alderman in Hendersonville against the Republican Party chairman. So we see these activities and these actions, and we say to ourselves, don't believe people by their word all the time. Look at what they do, who they hang out with, these are signals to, well, maybe they're not exactly one of us. That's for them to answer.
I mean, there's been a lot of interest in the organization when you created it in Sumner County, and there's been growth, right? I mean, talk to me about it.
Yeah, so what's happened is, we've been attacked by the liberal media. So the Atlantic has done hit pieces on us, the AP. I'm getting emails from...
you're friends by their enemies, right?
Right. I mean, CNN has sent us an email asking us for an interview. I've gotten international papers in like Germany reach out, ask for interviews. But what's happened, I think, is a lot of people around the state are like, what's going on in Sumner County? And how did they win 31 of the last 41 races? What are y'all doing up there? So they're calling us saying, hey, can you come down to, Madison County, for example, and help us change our county? And that's what's kind of spurred. I got the T-shirt on that says Tennessee Constitutional Republicans.
I like it.
And what we're trying to do is, we're trying to help these patriot groups build out exactly what we've done in Sumner County.
I mean, Tim, I just asked the question. I don't know the answer to it. Would you be serving as a county commissioner without the Sumner County Constitutional Republicans?
Never would. I started paying attention to an issue. I got angry and started plugging into this group because I heard that there was like-minded people there. And I was somebody that had very few friends, but very close friends. And I went to that place, and I found a whole lot of like-minded people that thought just like me, and I instantly gained, 100 new friends the first few meetings I was there. So I realized I had found my people, and I think there's a lot of people out there like me that if they would just get involved, there's a lot of camaraderie with this group because you just have a lot of like-minded individuals. We do life together. We do other things than meetings.
It's fun.
How would you like to see the Tennessee Constitutional Republicans grow moving forward?
Yeah, I'd like to see chapters, throughout all the counties working together to change their local government to how they see fit in terms of, the one thing that's really unique that I talk about often is that we have a 9-panel vetting committee. Right? When candidates want to run, we created processes, procedures. We put them through an interview process to make sure they are who they say they are. If you don't align with us, that's okay. You can go over there and run with the Democrats or whatever party you want to run with.
And not to interrupt your thought, but it just occurred to me, do you think that do you look at yourselves as an alternative, a growing alternative to your more establishment Republican Party? Are you competing with those guys?
What we do is I tell everybody we are Republicans. We're here to hold our Republican Party accountable. And we do that, if you think about...
You're almost like a caucus within the Republican Party?
Yeah, we're a caucus within
the Freedom Caucus.
Yeah.
I mean, is that a fair... I mean, I'm just searching for a fair comparison.
What we do is I tell everybody, go to your Republican Party meetings, pay your dues, be a part of this party because you're a Republican. But what we're going to do is we're going to add that vetting component that says we're going to make sure that these people are who they say they are. If you think about how elections work today... I get to send you mail to your mailbox and set up a website to tell you how awesome I am, but you won't buy a toaster without reading 300 Amazon reviews. Why are you going to take this guy's word for it?
Well, it occurs to me, I've been through not very many elections in the state of Tennessee, but I've been through a lot of elections in the state of Alabama. And Alabama's similar to Tennessee in that it flipped, right? It was blue, and it slowly but surely flipped to red. And as that process happened, a lot of Democrats flipped and became Republicans. And so I noticed a lot of adjectives that went with the word conservative or the word Republican when they were out campaigning. True conservative, pure conservative, lifelong conservative. And a lot of these people haven't been Republicans for more than 10 years, right? I mean, they're not lifelong anything. And so it occurs to me that yours is... when you talk about a vetting process, you kind of get down in the weeds and try to put action to word and make sure that those two things match up.
Yeah, I mean, we run background checks on people. We ask them to fill out an application. We ask them all kinds of questions. We put them in front of 9 people who do an in-depth interview type panel interview process to find out, are these people who they say they are? Because how many times have we seen people go to Washington or just get elected and be like, he or she changed. They changed.
They never get more conservative. Have y'all noticed that?
Yeah.
I mean, they never. I mean, and I used to say this exclusively about judicial nominees, that any judicial nominee that you see in Washington, D.C., especially Supreme Court nominees, the most conservative they're ever going to be is when they are going through the nomination process. Sometimes they stay there. Clarence Thomas stayed there, right? Antonin Scalia stayed there. There are examples of that they held the line and they remained true to their conservative principles. Oftentimes, and it's most often the case with politicians too, they get Washingtonized, or maybe in this case Nashvilleized, and they become more liberal.
Yeah, I mean, we see it all the time. I mean, the real question is, when they went there to begin with, were they really a Republican, a diehard conservative when they went there? That's the thing that our group does, is we try our best to make sure these people are who we think they are. So we put an endorsement on top of that. We say, hey, we believe, based on our processes and procedures of looking into these folks, that they are who we say they are, and you should vote for them.
Can you offer me maybe a local, a state, and a national standard bearer? That I'm just trying to identify the type of conservative or the type of Republican that you're talking about, or what are your demarcations in your vetting process as to what you would like to see in a constitutional republic?
You know, the main thing, we always talk about is we want our people to represent the citizens and not special interest groups. Oftentimes, especially in local races, there's a lot of things going on with development, right? And there's always some kind of crony corruption type thing going on oftentimes where, zoning laws need to be changed so they can bring in high density, and they need to get the right people in the right spots so they can vote to get this stuff. We see that a lot at the local level. Right. And then, how do you combat that? Right. Most people, I hate to say it, it feels like a lot of people are self-serving when they enter politics because they have an agenda. You find guys like Tim Jones. Tim Jones doesn't have an agenda. This guy shows up day one, and he jumps right in the group, and he wants to help his neighbor. He doesn't care about what the developer wants. He cares about what his neighbors want. And that's the kind of people that we want to put in office, that don't have special relationships or special interest groups tied to them. And Tim's a good example of that.
He used you as a local example, Tim.
Yeah.
I asked him for one, and he gave me one.
I would push back and say Jeremy Mansfield's a much better example of a
But
local.
Matt, you've gotten to know Tim. Is Tim not an awesome dude?
He is an awesome dude. He keeps me straight too. That's part of his agenda. He does have an agenda. It's keeping me straight on a regular basis. Yeah. So I mean, but I don't. It's not a matter of a lack of growth, right? You're not against growth.
No.
I mean, and obviously Sumner County is a great example of a community that's growing. You just want to grow the right way.
It needs to pay for itself.
And make sure that we're not overextending ourselves and we're getting ourselves in debt for the benefit of political friends as opposed to the detriment of the community.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better. The thing is that we want a level playing field. We want fairness, right? We want to respect our neighbors, right? It's one thing to swoop in and be an out-of-town developer and want to put, 600 apartment complexes in somebody's backyard and, not address traffic and roads and all those sort of things. Schools, you bring in housing, who's going to pay for the schools? Tim's County Commission, City of Gallatin fires up houses. Tim's got to figure out how to put these kids in school.
Tim, are you concerned? I may as well ask you a couple of local questions involving Sumner County. I can't help but notice as I go around Hendersonville, we shop in Hendersonville. We go up to Gallatin and eat. I mean, there's a lot of growth. Are you concerned as a county commissioner with the amount of growth that's happening so quickly in your county?
Everybody I've talked to is concerned about it. All my constituents, that's all they talk about is the amount of growth. Nobody that I've talked to says we need to grow more. Gallatin, Hendersonville's tamed it down a little bit, but Sumner County as a whole just can't grow fast enough. And that when you put in 1,000 house subdivision in the middle of the county, and they have to provide schools for that, everybody in the county now has to chip in and pay for that school system.
Infrastructure, yeah, sure.
And they don't think about stuff like that when they're doing it. There's the growth does not pay for itself. And until they figure out how to get it to pay for itself by charging impact fees. The cities need to charge impact fees, and the state needs to allow the county to charge impact fees when they took that away a few years ago.
I've noticed that my adopted hometown in Mount Juliet in Wilson County deals with the same thing, and they try to be, at least as I monitor the situation, they're trying to be judicious about even, business licenses and want to make sure that it's the right thing for the community because of the level of growth that they could see that could overwhelm the community. I'm not saying they're doing it the right way. I haven't studied it enough, but it's another example. I mean, it's a good problem to have because that means people want to live in Sumner County, but it's just you have to measure the amount of growth against the best interest of the constituents that you serve. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think that's what you're telling me.
Yeah, I think they look at it as a way to gain tax revenue, the more growth that they have, but it continually increases taxes over the years. So why is that? It should spread out the burden, correct?
Right.
And it never does.
I mean, if growth pays for itself, why did we get a 39% tax increase?
That's a great question.
I didn't build 600 homes over here, 800 homes over there, but they come to my pocket because they see my house as a blank check.
It's the right balance of light industry and residential retail. It's the balance of that is what needs to be looked at. And all they seem to care about is retail, residential, and more high density.
Well, it's certainly a great microcosm of what's happening in Sumner County. It's gotten a lot of attention, and it's growing throughout the state of Tennessee, as evidenced by Kurt's shirt. And I love it. I mean, I think it's and by the way, Bell, I don't know what to tell you. He didn't bring a Sumner County Constitutional Republic. Did you get one?
Yeah, he's got it.
You were hiding it? See.
There it is. He got it.
Look at you. You did get it.
I'm a man of my word.
It says, don't tread on me.
I got the hookup.
Man, oh, man. Good for you. You circumvented the host, went straight to he's the guy.
Tim, he texted me 42 times to bring that shirt. So
only 42? Listen, guys, thank you. Tim, thank you for everything you do in Sumner County. Kurt, thank you for bringing this story to the greater population. And I expect to see chapter growth for the Sumner County Constitutional Republicans and the Tennessee Constitutional Republicans as we move forward. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back with Pamela Furr coming up in just a moment. It's 1:54 on Super Talk.
Nice. That was fun.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was good. Was that good? Was that good for you?
That was good.
It's 2 o'clock. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 86 degrees in Music City. Got a clear week ahead. Complete forecast just a few minutes away. The special session is over. Both the Tennessee House and Senate have adjourned the state's special session on public safety after it began last Monday. The House passed 18 bills while the Senate passed 7. Yesterday, there was a walkout amongst the Democratic caucus after Representative Justin Jones was voted to be silenced after being overruled twice. And because of that, protests broke out in the rotunda until Tennessee Highway Patrol made everyone exit the building. And today, Speaker of the House Cameron Sexton, along with other Republican representatives, held a press conference and discussed if the session was a success.
Well, I mean, obviously from the House side, we thought we could do more. And so we proposed more and we passed more. The success of it, we'll see what happens next year, right? If other ideas spur out of this and it comes back next year, okay. I think we're disappointed, obviously, that we didn't get to do more stuff that we thought was beneficial.
Now we'll take a look at what passed through the Senate. One bill requires the Department of Safety to give out free gun locks to people who want them, but it does not require gun owners to use a lock. The second deals with how soon a court clerk must notify TBI of someone's criminal proceedings. Then third has to do with human trafficking. And then fourth gives funding for more school resource officers and mental health services. And 3 more were passed this morning that dealt with safe storage, mental health, and a 72-hour notification timeline. And over in Florida, officials say people in low-lying areas in the western portion of that state need to evacuate now before Idalia makes landfall tomorrow. Idalia is expected to make landfall in the Big Bend area of Florida as a major hurricane, and forecasters say the storm surge and the wind will be dangerous. National Hurricane Center Director Michael Brennan says that even areas away from the eye of the storm could see some catastrophic flooding.
It's going to push the Gulf waters and just pile them up continuously up into places like Tampa Bay that may be 50 or more miles away from the center of the storm. But that water, you're blowing 40 or 50 miles per hour of wind up into the mouth of Tampa Bay. That water is going to continue to pile up. And if you add into that the runoff that's going to come from the rainfall, 4 to 8 inches, isolated totals even higher than that, you're going to have a compounding flooding situation.
And President Biden has been briefed on the trajectory of this hurricane. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I want to tell you about a terrific podcast. And I want you to listen to our podcast and our radio show 24/7, but maybe when you're taking a little time out, how about Steve Abramowitz and the Mill Creek View, Tennessee podcast. I love what he's doing down in Franklin. He is hyper-local when he needs to be, but he also expands to state issues and national issues as well. He has artists on, authors, cultural touchstones, entertainment figures, sports figures, and, of course, he talks a lot about politics. Frequently the number one show on politics on Podomatic. You can find him on Deezer, iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, really any of your favorite podcast app. He's also on Rumble Video, the YouTube alternative that does not censor anyone. And if you can't get enough of Mill Creek View, Tennessee, they've also got Mill Creek View, Washington, and Florida, with many, many more coming. Steve is the CEO and editor-in-chief of the Mill Creek View newspaper, which is a stop on my journey every morning when I try to figure out what's going on in the world. It's mcview.us. That's mcview.us. Make sure you click subscribe so you never miss an interview or never miss an episode of the Mill Creek View, Tennessee podcast. I strongly encourage you. Check them out. It's Mill Creek View, Tennessee. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and the Matt Murphy Show. Thank you for being around. Whatever time you're able to give us, we're appreciative of that. We've got our final hour right now. It's 2:06.
Matt.
Yes.
I have to intrude real quick. I've got you and Pamela up on the Super Talk, the video.
Yes. Headless Bell. Yes.
Pamela is so short that I literally cannot see anything.
Not one
above her.
Tell me when. Just tell me when.
That's so much better.
Is that good? Okay.
Before I can only see half of her head.
I am short. Yes, that is true. Memories.
You just had the hot ginger action going
y'all
on.
Y'all have been adjusting cameras for taller people in here, so I'm sorry.
Pamela Farr's back in the house.
Yes, nice to have you.
You do seem shorter than usual.
Well,
I think it's the chair. It's the chair.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How about with you?
Wonderful. Just just a bevy of activity going on. Well, we saw each other every day for a while.
We did.
And now we don't.
And now we don't.
But you got so much going on.
I got a lot going on. That is very, very true. But y'all have a lot going on as well.
Oh, sure.
I just, we don't have as much going on as they did at the state capitol today. I heard on your show that there was some shenanigans even today.
Yeah, so as they were breaking, apparently people in the gallery didn't like the fact that they were adjourning the session, and so they caused a little bit of a ruckus in the gallery, and that's one thing.
Whose house? My house.
And all that. Whatever.
Right.
And but then on the floor of the body, there was a little bit of a
kerfuffle?
A kerfuffle's good to a scrum. Almost.
A
there was almost, I don't know that it was a scrum, but it was almost a scrum. It was
all right.
It was kind of a pseudo scrum.
A pseudo scrum.
Mm-hmm. There was some jostling of activity with Cameron. Just as many adjectives as we can figure it out. There was Cameron Sexton was coming off the speaker dais, and there was William Lambert there, and apparently Justin Jones and Justin Pearson were down there, and there was some bumping and some jostling.
But no grinding. I'm sorry.
Let's hope not.
That was the first thing that popped in my head. I apologize.
But but they are now adjourned without any additional legislation passing beyond the three pieces.
No more scrums.
No more scrums.
Or kerfuffles. All right.
What do you, before we talk about all of the rest, what do you do with that? I think it is easy, and there is no fault in pointing a finger at Cameron Sexton and saying, look, dude, you're the leader.
Right.
You're the elected member of the body that is here to enforce the rules, and you got to do a better job.
There needs to be a better job, although you were speaking with Jody Barrett earlier. I also agree with him, though. You can't let people just break the rules. Now, there's a huge side of me that says, let them get what they want to say out. They have 5 minutes, and then it's done, and then there's no more attention. And that's probably, from a strategy standpoint, a better way to go. But at the same time, if you're breaking the rules, why is it then that Justin Jones or Pearson or Johnson or whoever gets to break them and no one else would. So, you know what I mean? So I get that. So you got to find a happy medium. Truthfully, though, I have to, and I've been critical of Sexton in the past. I have to say, I think he kept a good handle where it didn't get as crazy as it did during the general session.
I recall on Monday when the session went into when the special session was gavelled in, not this past Monday, but the Monday before last. And I was down there in the gallery, and I watched all the shenanigans. And as I made an appearance on The Drive with Brian Wilson, and rightly so, we noted that it had devolved into, and this is a technical term, a crap show,
Right.
And I noted at the time, and I said, I just want to make clear, though, the crap show is coming from the very vocal minority,
right,
the Democrats, who are attempting, they want it to be a crap
They
show.
want it to be chaos.
Right.
Yeah. And so, for me personally, and it certainly fits in with this organization I'm involved with now, but for me personally, it's all been pretty much a waste of time and a waste of money, with the exception of the human trafficking bills that have been passed, or bill that's been passed. With the exception of that, which could have been done in January, regardless, it got done. At least something's gotten done. But look at the money that was wasted on extra troopers, on overtime with troopers, with per diems every day in the special session. That's our money. That's our money that could have been used for, education savings accounts, could have been used for another SRO or 2 or 5. You know what I mean? So I think we could have spent that money better, but it's over with now, and we move on.
And you know what? I'm not casting aspersions. It's not a judgment, just an observation. That was the impasse, right? The House, the governor gets to make the call. The governor determines what he considers to be extraordinary circumstances. And so he made the call. Well, the Senate said, and for those that haven't been watching or paying attention, the Senate went, okay, we don't think we should be here. We don't think any of this merits a special session, but that's not our decision to make. Governor, what bills do you want us to take up? Hand us the bills.
And we'll take them up.
And we'll take them up. And so they took up only the bills the governor presented. The House decided that they would take an opportunity to pass other stuff. And the Senate said, you know what? We're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're just going to do what we need to do, and we're getting out of here, and we'll take the rest of it up in January.
Isn't that a better use of your taxpayer dollars?
Well, I mean, certainly.
And time.
There are good pieces of legislation that failed that will come back up in January that will succeed. I think the fire alarm bill is a good example, right? William Lamberth and others have made the point that our technology has grown beyond just pulling a fire alarm and automatically kids go to line up and go out of the school. We can distinguish between different types of danger.
Yes.
I don't think that's a bill that has to be done right now. I think it can wait until January.
And plus, you can, there's probably lots of facets to it. You have to make sure you're not passing knee-jerk legislation, and then down the road there's something that pops up that, we didn't know that would happen. Oh, this is unconstitutional. Crap. We need to try this again.
Well, and there's another great example for what you just brought up, and that's the autopsy bill, right?
So,
in these special sessions, as Pamela knows, they go through what is called flow motion, meaning they suspend the normal rules and they get things moving really quickly. And sometimes when things move quickly, things get through that you don't notice.
Right, fall through those cracks that are not good.
And I think some of this legislation merits careful consideration about the full ramifications of passage. And I think the autopsy bill is one of them. And for those that don't know, this was also a Lamberth bill in the House of Representatives, and it would prevent the public from being able to see autopsy reports. Autopsy photos are already illegal to see for children.
Right.
But this would prevent autopsy reports from being public information unless a parent or a guardian allows it to be public information. And I just think that level of the government's ability to prevent the public from seeing, that's a very dangerous place.
Well, it is a dangerous place. There are cases in this state where the parent was the one that did the kid in.
Right.
So
that would not even technically, that would legally disallow the public from being able to have certain information, even if that case moves forward in a court of law.
Right. That would prevent, I'm just pulling this from my head, organizations like the Innocence Project, let's say somebody else got convicted for killing that kid, but no one was able to say, well, that's probably a very bad example, but there are organizations that would not be able to see the autopsy reports to say, wait a minute, there's something here that's not quite right that a medical examiner may have missed. And that there are cases where that has happened. So I think that goes too far. And quite frankly, and I love William Lambert, he should know better. We want government oversight, do we not? We don't want government to interfere in those kinds of things.
I don't want to speak for William because I've not spoken to him about this.
Yeah.
But
and I love him.
Some of this seemed to me to be an attempt to show affected people
that you're doing something.
That you're trying to do something. Yeah. You're trying to do as much as you can do. Yeah. Because some of these organizations, and I think there are many parts of the Covenant Mom group that wanted to see action on an order of protection or a red flag, and they found out very quickly none of that was going to happen. And so I think some of this was an effort to kind of to give them a little something in the special session. But obviously, I think it merits more consideration. I think I'm fine with debating it, but let's debate it.
What was the other one where that he proposed, and I was completely against this. Now, I don't know where it ended up.
Oh, the DNA collection.
DNA. Yeah, completely against that. If I want to give you my DNA as an innocent American, I can choose to give you my DNA. When I'm convicted of a felon or a crime, then you can get my DNA. But until that happens, you're not getting it unless I let you have it. Or I don't know, I took a drink and you steal the cup. But you're not getting my DNA by force if I am not convicted of anything. I think it's wrong.
It's a very, very interesting public and private privacy debate with regard to how far the law enforcement is going to be allowed to go with modern technology. I mean, because they can take your fingerprints. But I disagree with it. I think there are certain places that they should not be able to go prior to conviction, and that's one of them for me. So we'll see. All right, 2:17. I'll tell you what, take a quick time out, and then we'll come back and talk about this big event going on Thursday. I'm excited.
It's going to be fun.
Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this.
You're welcome.
Really
absolutely. Cool. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
We'll discuss in just a moment. It is 2:18 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project has a mission to help veterans and heroes reintegrate from service to civilian life. That is their mission statement. Charlie Daniels, David Corlew, and many great other Americans put together the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project years ago to help us vet those organizations that mean the most to our veterans. And now they have a big event coming up on September 13th. They want to tell you all about it. And the first stop is to go to the CharlieDanielsJourneyHomeProject.org to find out more about this wonderful organization and how you can give back to those that give so much to us, our veterans and our heroes, as they reintegrate into civilian life. They have many different partners, and they tell you all about those partners on the website. I believe in the way this organization does their business. They do the heavy lifting of vetting of these organizations to make sure that every dollar that you spend with the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, you maximize your dollar by making sure that the maximum amount of that dollar gets to the veterans that need it the most. Please donate today. If you can help or if you need help, go to the CharlieDanielsJourneyHomeProject.org. And I don't say that aspect enough. If you're a veteran and you're in need of assistance, there's a Need Help button right there on the top of the page for you. And all you need to do is click that and you can get the help that is much deserved. The CharlieDanielsJourneyHomeProject.org. And don't forget to mark the calendar for September 13th for their big annual event. It's the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project.
The special session on public safety right here in Tennessee has come to an end. The House and Senate agreed to adjourn. We talk about that coming up at 2:30. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN 1221. Good afternoon. How are you? Man, I've got so much other... the stupid special session keeps interrupting my flow. I've got so much other stuff. Have you heard about this kid that was booted out of a Colorado public school because of the Gadsden flag?
No, I heard you talk about it, like tease it, but I have not. I've been out of what's the word? Out of the loop, if you will.
All right, let's you and I talk about the Americans for Prosperity.
Yeah.
Why do I keep wanting to call them the ATF? I don't. That's a different
different organization. Yes,
it's AFP.
We are AFP, Americans for Prosperity. Yes,
and maybe if we have time on the other side, if you're willing to stick around,
I would love to stick around.
We can kind of talk about this kid because this is a ridiculous story that I want more people to be aware of. So, Americans for Prosperity coming to town.
Well, we are in town,
well,
yeah.
Obviously we're in town,
but we have an event
big
that's coming up. It's called Reignite the American Dream. If you're looking on Super Talk TV, I've got this little pin that says Reignite the American Dream, and that's pretty cool. I like it. Anyway, it is, the bottom line is this. There are a lot of people, including conservatives, conservatarians, which we also like to call ourselves, which I think that interests you a little bit.
I dig that, yeah.
A lot of people feel like they're not, number one, being heard, and then number two, that all is lost. Looking at the Democrats in D.C., the swamp in D.C., a lot of people are discouraged. The economy is not doing well. Donald Trump lost the last election. Can he win? Even though there's lots of support, can he honestly defeat Joe Biden? We really don't know what kind of shenanigans are going to happen. We don't know. Mm-hmm. We want to tell you that all hope is not lost. And we do have legislators that are doing the work to keep that American dream alive. So we're going to hear from some of them Thursday night at the Maxwell House Hotel. Have you ever been there?
I have not.
Maxwell, it's kind of a legendary hotel, if you will. It's been around here for a long time. Now, I was about to say off at 265. That tells you how long I have lived in this town. Off at 65, though, Metro Center, that area. But we've got...
So it's on Rosa Parks Boulevard, right?
Yeah. So it is going to be Clark Boyd, who is a state rep.
Yeah.
We will have Mark Pody. We have the mayor of Murray County, Sheila Budd. I don't know if you've met her yet.
I've never met Sheila.
And then we're going to have Congressman Mark Green.
Mm-hmm.
He will be there. And then there's this guy, I think you've heard of him. I'm not sure. But I think his name is Congressman Andy Ogles. He's going to be there. And then Robbie Starbuck. Robbie, regardless of what happened in the election, he has an amazing American dream story, with his family background coming from Cuba and all of that and being successful in this country. And so he's going to share his American dream story Thursday night. And I think a lot of people will be inspired by that. And so we're going to feed you free food. There is no ticket price for this. Come one, come all. You have to register, though, so we know how much food to buy. And that is AFPTNSummit.org. AF as in Frank, P as in Pamela, TN Summit at, wait, did I do that right? .org. There we go. AFPTNSummit.org. And if you click on that, you'll scroll down to Middle Tennessee and you'll see where you can register there. And that's all you have to do. Come one, come all. And it's going to be a great night. Oh, and I'm going to sing the national anthem.
Heck yeah.
And you and I are emceeing the event.
Yeah.
Together.
Yes, that'll be fun.
I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I think you'll be inspired. I really do.
What time's all the festivities start?
Doors open around 5:30. Get your food and whatnot, and then I think we'll start the show, as they say, around 6:15 or so.
Now, you called it the Maxwell House.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard others, they refer to it as the Millennium
that's
Maxwell
true. Yes.
House.
I'm sorry, I left off the Millennium.
No, let me guess why. Because the Maxwell House was originally in another location and it burned down. Is that not right? Do I have that right?
Man, if you know that more than I do, then bravo.
Honestly, the first time that I was ever in it was in 1986 partying with REO Speedwagon.
See, it's been around a while.
And it's been in that same spot. So if it burned down, that was a long
And they just
time
rebuilt
ago.
it. Yeah, so, but it's in the same spot that it's been since I've known it.
Wait, let me give you guys.
We're going down the rabbit hole here.
For those of you who are trying to Google it for me, don't just Google Maxwell House. You'll never get beyond the coffee.
Yeah, that's true. Maxwell House Hotel, Rosa Parks Boulevard, or Metro Center. You could do that too. But while you're looking that up and in that rabbit hole, I just want to remind that Tennessee parents and educators, we want you to have access. Americans for Prosperity want you to have access to real school choice. No more being stuck in failing politically charged public schools. That's what we fight for here in Tennessee. There is a monopoly on health care in Tennessee, and we want to ensure that you have real choices and lower costs if you are a patient at a hospital or some sort of health care facility. We want more transparency in government. These are the things that we fight for, and energy independence here in the state of Tennessee and across America. So these are the things that will keep the American dream thriving. It will keep the American dream alive. And so come join us, like-minded people together, so that we can be inspired for the future.
How long has the American for Prosperity group, has that been
Now you're asking me a question I'm brand spanking new, but at least a decade, maybe longer.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I love these organizations because they encourage people of like mind to come together, because collectively, what was the old Benjamin Franklin quote? You all hang together, you hang separately. You got to hang together.
Hang together.
And there is a power in numbers. All right, you ready?
Yes.
The Maxwell House Hotel, I think I have this somewhat right, was a hotel in downtown Nashville. 7 U.S. presidents and other prominent guests stayed there over the years. It was built by Colonel John Overton and named for his wife, Harriet Maxwell.
Remember the John Overton High School?
And I remember looking this up because I wanted to know that there's a reported comment by President Theodore Roosevelt that a cup of coffee he drank was good to the last drop was used as an advertising slogan for Maxwell House Coffee, which was served at and named after the hotel. General Foods, former owner of the Maxwell House brand, acknowledged that Roosevelt, in fact, had nothing to do with the slogan's origin. It was penned by the company's one-time president, Clifford Spiller. The coffee brand is still in operation and is now owned by Kraft Heinz. However, the Maxwell House continued. Yeah, the hotel, after being used for some years as a residential hotel, the Maxwell House Hotel was destroyed by fire on Christmas night, 1961.
Oh, that's why Belle and I don't know. Because we weren't here.
The Millennium Maxwell House Hotel opened in 1979. It was named for the old Maxwell House. So I don't.
But did you ever? I've never called it the Millennial Maxwell House.
Yeah,
it's always the Maxwell House.
I never heard anybody say that until Matt did, and I'm like, well, they must have changed the name or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking because that's on our stuff. But I've always known it as just the plain old Maxwell House. But that's 30 years. You about the same amount of time. Yeah.
And it's been there for a hot minute. So I don't know. I just remembered, lonely nights in the camper with nothing else to do but, peruse
read Wikipedia. Well, I'm looking forward to being there with you. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and we can celebrate your birthday also that night.
Come celebrate birthday with me.
Yeah, maybe we'll get you a cake or something.
Big 5-0.
The big 5-0. But again, you're going to hear from. I mean, if there's anybody out there that's making the American dream possible, are people like Mark Green, who's fighting for that up in Washington. I'm obviously a huge fan. So he's going to describe how he's going to continue that fight.
And I know we've joked about it. I look forward to seeing Andy. I really do, because I think Andy and I are a lot closer together in ideological spirit than
you are apart.
Our relationship on our airwaves has presented. And I think that I look forward to an opportunity.
Well, healing is always a good thing.
To talking with him.
And Andy's been fighting pretty hard up there, too.
He's been doing a great job.
He's been doing a fantastic job.
I've had zero complaints, and I've got zero complaints with the job that Andy's doing.
So it's going to be a good night. So, register again, AFPTNsummit.org, AFPTNsummit.org, free food, 5:30. Want to see you there.
Pamela has I have it on good authority that she will hug every single person that asks for one.
Yes. Who has vodka in their hand. No, there's no vodka.
Or if she's had vodka in her hand.
Yes, if she's got vodka in her hand. Your odds of a hug. I just wanted to see what kind of reaction I would get. Okay, hold your thought. It's 2:31. I've got Mac Moore back in the newsroom. He's going to gather some headlines together and present those to us, and we'll take a few of your telephone calls, and I'll tell you this incredible story. It's a 12-year-old young man who was kicked out of class in Colorado Springs for having a Gadsden flag on his backpack. More to come after this on Super Talk.
$2:32. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 87 degrees, a sunny day in Nashville, and a clear week ahead. No showers in the forecast. A full weather forecast coming up in 2 minutes. The special session has concluded. Both the Tennessee House and Senate have adjourned the state special session on public safety after it began last Monday. The House passed 18 bills. The Senate passed 7. And yesterday, there was a walkout amongst the Democratic caucus after Representative Justin Jones was voted to be silenced after being overruled twice. Because of that, protests broke out in the rotunda until Tennessee Highway Patrol made everyone exit that building. And today, Speaker of the House Cameron Sexton, along with other Republican representatives, held a press conference this afternoon and discussed how the Senate and House came to the agreement to adjourn after not being on the same page at first.
When you send the bill back across the message back to the Senate, and they concur with it, there you go. That's it. It passes, right? And so the ability to go to conference or anything else, that's what happens. And so that was the conversation. They were willing to take the appropriations that we had proposed. And at that point, it becomes a moot point, especially if holding them true to their word that they didn't want to pass any more bills.
The House passed one bill that related to gun safety and mental health funding. President Biden laid out today the first steps in the government's Medicare drug price negotiation program. Patients who take any of the 10 prescription medications revealed today, which treat conditions like heart and kidney disease and diabetes, will start seeing lower drug prices in 2026. But there's already been a pushback. Ann Flaherty says the drug makers feel it's the wrong approach.
They say that these are nothing short of price controls by the government. It's going to be done by an agency called CMS. And they say that there's not going to be enough accountability or oversight. They're also sounding the alarms on what could happen in the private sector. They're arguing that insurance companies and prescription benefit managers might restrict access to medications. Now, I have spoken with experts on this who say that is an overshot. That is significantly probably not going to happen.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. The painting company, I should say Nashville Painting Company, wants to talk with you. Jeremy Reeves came from Birmingham some 10 years ago. He painted my house in Birmingham. Isn't it odd how in some ways the world is such a small place? That's right. Jeremy painted my home in Birmingham, and I know from personal experience, inside and out, what an incredible job Jeremy and his team, they really do on your home. And if you've got little issues. If you've noticed cracks or chipping or fading on the exterior of your home, it's a perfect time to contact Nashville Painting Company and Jeremy Reeves and get them to your house. They'll give you a free estimate. They'll give you some color consultation as well. They'll give you exact scopes and pricing so you don't have any surprises. And then they will get their qualified crews, not just painters, artisans, craftsmen on the job, and they'll get it done jiffy quick. And you won't have to worry about it for years to come. They've got brick lime staining that they can do. They've got warranties that they can provide you. 3, 5, and 10-year warranties are available. Plus, they're locally owned and operated, which is so important to me. NashvillePaintingCompany.com. That's NashvillePaintingCompany.com. Or 615-635-0350. 635-0350 for our friends at Nashville Painting Company. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy for the world-famous Glock Store. I sat down with Lenny McGill and asked him a direct question some months ago. Why did you move to Nashville? He looked everywhere around the country for a new location for the world-famous Glock Store when he decided to leave California because California is such an anti-business state and certainly an anti-Second Amendment state. And he found Nashville to be the perfect location for McGill's world-famous Glock Store. Now, they do a lot of shipping around the country, and they do a lot of manufacturing right here at the world-famous Glock Store, but that's neither here nor there for you. You need to go in and see the 35,000 square feet of incredible showroom space. The amount of Glocks they have, I can't even count them all when I'm in the world-famous Glock Store. Plus, they have other items. They have accessories. They have guns. They have ammo. They have clothing. I mean, dare I mention, yet again, the concealed carry underpants. They have them right there at the world-famous Glock Store. Plus, the shooting rooms. 4 separate shooting rooms, including the Shoot 270 room, which is an incredible experience in and of itself. It's one thing to own a gun. It's another thing to understand how to use one, and that's where the training comes in at the world-famous Glock Store. So go to GlockStore.com if you're interested in retail sales, or go to Shoot270.com for more information about training. They all go to the same place on Airlane Drive, right off of Elm Hill Pike. And when you swing into the parking lot and say hey to one of their friendly employees, tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the world-famous Glock Store. All right, here we go. Final segment before we hand off, or we'll kind of break bread with Brian Wilson coming up in about 15 or so minutes on The Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We verbally break bread, find out what's going on the drive this afternoon. I happen to know that Cameron Sexton is coming up. I also happen to know that Jack Johnson is coming up at 3:35 and 5:05 respectively. But you'll hear that from the horse's mouth. And in this case, the horse is the one and only Brian Wilson of the drive. And did
you just call him a horse?
I said yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Like if you hear it from the horse's mouth.
Then you're
this
the
case,
horse.
Brian's the
Okay.
horse. Brian's the horse. He's a skinny horse nowadays. Have you seen him lately?
I have.
He has lost
It's better
a lot.
than being a jackass, I suppose.
Caught
Busted.
Caught by the horse himself.
I'm always lurking.
He's always listening.
He's like Dad that peeked his head around the corner.
And I heard that.
I heard you. That's funny.
All right, pot him down, Belle. He's got enough time coming up in
That's
just
funny.
a couple of. No, that's funny. That's very funny. Anyway, Brian will be with us in just a couple of minutes. But I wanted you to hear about this kid. So this is a young man by the name of Jaden who is getting a lot of media attention based on a situation that happened with him at his school in Colorado Springs. I'm going to play you this, and it is a video, I believe, that was set up by Jaden's mother. And on the video, you can see that there is a baby carrier and a baby like right next to where the video is. So it's obvious that she has set up a video camera because she doesn't want anybody to tell tales out of school, literally and figuratively, about what happened during this meeting. The individual that they were meeting with was a school director that indicated that young Jaden was going to be removed from school until such time as he took a patch off of his backpack. And the patch is the Gadsden flag that says, "Don't tread on me." We have a flag in our studio with the Gadsden flag.
You do indeed.
And just the explanation as to why they've decided to remove him from school until such time as he takes the Gadsden flag off of his backpack is unbelievable. Let's just listen into this. They're sitting him down.
Do you know what the Gadsden flag is? That it's a historical flag?
So the reason that they do not want the flag, the reason we do not want the flag displayed is due to its origins with slavery and slave trade.
Okay, let's stop right there. That is a school official.
Wow.
That just told Jaden's mother that the reason that they don't want the Gadsden flag is due to its origins with slavery and the slave trade.
Wow. Wow. A school official, someone who is part of the learning experience.
I mean
wow. Bless her heart.
Folks, all I can tell you, I've never been blessed with children. And so I never had this decision point to make in my life. But if you have a decision point to make regarding how to educate your young children, and that decision is coming up, or you have a few years before that decision will come up, please do everything in your power to educate your children away from public schools.
Oh, my gosh.
I understand that there are some good ones, and anytime I say that, the people that go to the good ones get mad at me, and they email me, and they... But, folks, this is the type of nonsense.
Is she getting the Confederate Army and the Continental Army mixed up?
I suppose. It gets better because, thankfully, Mama claps back a little bit.
That is what was, that's the reasoning behind them do not want this flag.
No, I know that's hard to hear. But
Don't tread on me.
Okay. Which is the Gadsden flag. Okay. Okay. So he.
This is Mama.
What's going to happen if he doesn't take it off?
He is able to go. I was actually just telling him, like, I was upset that he was missing so much school. I'm like, so I asked if, can he just take his stuff out of his bag and go back to class? Like, I just want him to go back to class. The bag can't go back. It's got a patch on it because we can't have that in and around other kids. So that's what I was trying, and then he said you were close. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with slavery. That's like the Revolutionary War patch that was displayed when they were fighting the British. Like, that's the revolution. Maybe you're thinking of like the the our Confederate flag?
Okay, I
Is
am
there a
just
history
here
to
to
it?
enforce. No, I am here to enforce the policy that was provided by the district.
So this goes on for another minute and a half. She doesn't care.
No, she's not even listening.
And she knows she's being recorded. And so she's not going to, if she in her head understands what mama is saying to her, she's not going to acknowledge it.
Yeah. Wow.
So they don't care. They don't care that someone is misrepresenting the origins of the flag or that the flag had nothing to do with slavery, that it was all about the American Revolution. They just have decided. It is the next flag, the Gadsden flag, which I have on the back of my motorcycle. I have a motorcycle tag that's the Gadsden flag. We have a representative example in our studios. I see a lot of them flying.
A lot of them.
It's the next Confederate flag, Pamela, and it has nothing to do with slavery.
Nothing. I mean, not even remotely. It's the Continental Army.
Well, the Revolutionary War was fought over slavery.
Apparently
was
so.
it now?
Apparently.
Because I said so.
Colonial
That's why,
slavery
yeah.
to the British, right?
Indeed. Indeed.
And that
wow.
but that means that we should celebrate the Gadsden flag.
So what ended up happening to this kid? Was he expelled?
So the kid was originally not allowed to go back into the classroom. Jaden, according to one of the individuals that's on top of this story, Connor Boyack, Jaden went back to school today with his patch in place. He said he'd do a sit-in if necessary to protest. 2 law firms have stepped forward to assist.
Nice.
There's been an incredible amount of media interest. Mama and son are probably going to be on Sean Hannity's show tonight, so look out for that.
Nice.
And there is no response yet from the school or district offices. The Colorado governor has tweeted about it, disagreeing with the school.
Good.
Good for the governor.
Good. Well, and again, I'm looking at, there are different things here. Free speech. I mean, don't tread on me is not hate. It hasn't been deemed a hate symbol yet, has it, to my knowledge? So why on earth? I mean, and I would think this would be an opportunity, since there's now a lot of attention being given to this patch, for the school to take an opportunity to actually teach what it really means and what it was about.
It's a learning opportunity for the kids that find themselves to be so, quote, offended. And oh, by the way,
one kid said a word. I doubt one kid said a word. I doubt one kid even knew what it was.
You think?
I really do. I think a parent saw it.
Well, you might be right there. Yeah. It's either a parent that saw it or a kid that has learned from mislearned
from a
parent that's a racist symbol
or
something.
From maybe a school official based on what we just heard.
By the way, Jaden is also going to school. I've seen the photo that Bel K just sent me. He's going to school in a tri-corner hat.
Nice.
Because he's campaigning to be the president of his class, which is kind of cool. So this looks like a super cool kid and a good example of the future of our country. And hopefully this will have good resolution.
Yeah, no kidding.
We'll
wow.
Pamela, one more time with the website for those that want to go to the event.
AFPTNsummit.org. AFPTNsummit.org. The event is Thursday evening at the Millennial Maxwell House, which is off of Metro Center Boulevard or John Lewis Way. Anyway, it's over there, and it starts at 5:30. Free food, but we need you to register so we know how much food to buy. You've got the mayor of Murray County there. You've got Senator Mark Pody. You've got Senator Jack Johnson. You've got Congressman Andy Ogles. You've got Congressman Mark Green, and you have Robbie Starbuck, who will be there. And then, of course, I'll be there, and so will Matt Murphy, emceeing and entertaining you, hopefully. And we, together with like-minded people who know what the Don't Tread on Me flag is all about,
Amen.
We will be reigniting the American dream.
Absolutely love it. I'll be the guy in the suit. Just look for me, and I'll say hello.
You'll be wearing a suit.
Maybe. I mean...
Have y'all seen Matt in a suit? All right. Now, I love Erica, so I'm not saying anything that's inappropriate. But Matt looks pretty dang good in a suit.
All right, it's time to go. Thank you, Pamela Furr. It's 2:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, I'm not sure you should assume I'm not corrupt.
Tennessee's special session has ended. A WeGo bus crash, crime in Tennessee, plus the latest at the University of North Carolina after an armed and dangerous suspect was put into custody and a faculty member was shot and killed. Those stories and more coming up at 3 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That is on the way in about 3 minutes. It is 2:57. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Winding things down on the Matt Murphy portion of the broadcast day and drawing in Brian Wilson from The Drive to find out what is going on this afternoon. And I know two things that are going on this afternoon. Two. Count them two.
1, 2.
That would be Cameron Sexton and Jack Johnson to get the lowdown from either body. I'm excited to hear the aftermath reaction because
I mean, it was a little crazy there in the Capitol as things wound down, and there was a little pushing and a little shoving on the House floor, and we'll get the lowdown from the Speaker of the House. I mean, it got a little bumpy out there, there might have been a shoulder bump as somebody tried to breeze by, and I've heard someone on Afternoon Drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN describe that as some sharp elbows. Right? There might have been a sharp elbow or two, but I'm telling you, that's the amazing stuff. We got the Speaker of the House at 3:35, and Senator Jack Johnson, Senate Majority Leader, coming up at 5:05. A lot of other things. I'm really taken by this story about an ISIS smuggler down on the border. Doesn't that give you a great deal of confidence about who might be coming in? If only there'd been somebody who had been saying from time to time, that bad people are coming across the border and we need to do something about it. If only there'd been just one person.
It's unbelievable the amount that we don't know about the type of individuals. Because by very definition, they are undocumented, so we don't know who the heck they are coming across the border, and certainly bad guys are going to take advantage of that.
Well, it certainly seems to be the case, and now apparently they're looking into a person who was said to have connections with ISIS who was helping smugglers. What kind of smugglers has he been helping is the question. So a lot of stuff to cover, a lot of ground to cover here as we kick off in just a little bit.
Well, I'm excited about the drive, and I'm going to catch every bit of it I can, but I've got a couple of emails to return from Robert Peters here in my inbox, so I've got to handle that, Brian, but when I'm not handling that, I'll be listening. There's Brian Wilson with The Drive. It's coming up in mere moments. That's right after the news with Mac Maury on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. See you tomorrow, folks, at high noon.